Good morning, everyone, and welcome once again to another episode of our podcast, A New Direction. Today, we'll be talking about corruption, which we gave you guys a little snippet into from our previous video on money. We try to talk about how the activity of man is what we see as corruption. That a person who didn't bring himself into the world finds himself in the world and he lays claim or he lays ownership over the things which he came to meet, and now has the ability or now has it in his mind to tax those who are coming after him in order for them to be a beneficiary to what was given or what was provided by the Spirit of the Lord for the service of humanity. So we'll be looking at corruption, and as usual from the concept of the Spirit that engineered it, and as the ideology and idea of man who finds himself running under corruption. So, discussing this issue with me today, we have familiar faces. Brother Kufre.
Good morning.
We have Sister Adugo.
Good morning.
We have Brother Chigozie.
Good morning.
We have Sister Yuti.
Good morning.
And I myself am Brother David. So, let's get into it. When we talk about corruption, especially here where we are residing, here in Nigeria, when we talk about corruption, there is always what we as the masses have in mind when we talk about corruption. We always talk about how the people in office, as the leaders, are embezzling funds, are covering up dirty deeds, are doing all sorts of things. That's what we regard corruption to be. Tying it to something that we as humans carry out. That's our idea of corruption. Whether it's taking bribe or giving bribe, because it's a two-way
Goes
thing.
both ways.
Yeah, it's not just receiving bribe that makes it corruption.
Yeah.
You too giving the bribe too, that's what we see as corruption.
Yes.
But as usual, we always say that, especially here on this forum, that the things which were engineered by the Spirit of the Lord has its own concept of operation
Yeah.
as it relates to Him and as against the idea of men on how we carry out our living and our exhibitions.
Yeah.
So as it relates to the Spirit, when we talk about corruption isn't necessarily what a person does. I say necessarily because we always talk about how, for instance, the church isn't first the building of brick and mortar, but the person. Before, by extension, the brick building now becomes the church as well. But first of all, it's a person, and that person is the person of God. So he is the first church, and as the church, he must have a place he functions out of. So you can as well now refer to that building where that person is as the church as well. But first and foremost, the church is that person. So when we relate it to corruption in that sense, you now get to realize that before the activity of a person is described as being corrupt, it means the person himself is corrupt. Because we have come to realize, or we have come to know, based on what has been written in the Bible and based on the natural occurrence of things, that a good fruit can bring a good tree rather can bring a bad fruit. And a bad fruit and a bad tree cannot bring
A corrupt
a
fruit.
good
A good
fruit.
Yes.
Let me go again. We have come to realize, based on natural occurrences and based on the things we can read from the Bible, that a good tree cannot bring forth a bad fruit,
Yes.
and a bad tree cannot bring forth a good fruit. So a good tree will bring forth a good fruit, while a bad
Evil
tree,
tree.
there's a reason I'm using bad, but I'm not using evil.
When it's bad, that means it can't even bring out fruit first. What is bad? When it is evil.
Use your mic.
Say when it's bad, it can't even live to bring out fruit. You understand? It is evil that can bring out the evil fruit. So that's what I'm trying to put across for you.
What you are saying is that a corrupt tree
Yes.
cannot bring forth a good fruit.
Yes.
Neither can a good tree bring
Bring
out
out.
a corrupt fruit.
Yes.
When we make those statements, we take a look at our wall. Like when you have a mango tree, and you see that mango tree is corrupt.
Yes.
Maybe that is why the brother David is using the word bad. When the tree is bad, you don't expect fruit to come out from the tree.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's why we use the word corrupt. Corrupt in the sense that if maybe where the tree is planted, like in my place, I have mango trees around the house. So when you see any of the mango tree, one side of many times not all together. You can
Yes.
see one of the branches one of the branch face like a kind of
Got affected by
is affected by something. One side will be as if is dying off. The under of it, you see that they see that
Still
flesh
alive.
that shows that the
Tree is
the
alive.
tree is alive.
Yes.
But at the end of it, you see that there is no fruit coming out from that section. So what we do, we cut it off.
Yes.
But looking at the path that we are driving today in this forum, which is the path of God,
Yes.
we look at the tree not being that mango tree, because in the world nobody really understands that the tree that the Spirit is talking about
Yes, man.
is man, is
Yeah.
us.
Yes.
Maybe there are some that also understand, but when I say in the world we don't understand, it's because it's not a normal idea. It's not that constant idea for everybody to know that when you use the word tree, it doesn't have anything to do with that mango tree. But we as man, remember, like you said, there is always the idea of man, and there's what the Spirit conceived to put all the languages in the Bible. So that corruption being one of it, I will try to look at it this way. From what you said, we talked about love. One of the episodes we talked about love,
Yeah, we talked
which is
about
what
love.
brought this corruption.
Love and emotion.
We talked about love and emotion. In the love, we see the concept of the Spirit. And we said that what we do as man, there is no love in it.
Yes.
It's just emotion that we drive.
Yes.
And I think in that emotion, love and emotion, that will also bring the idea of this corruption when I'm bringing the part that I feel that truly this is what corruption is. So when we talk about love, we try to bring an idea of love from the side of the Spirit for everybody to see. That if you are talking about love, let's look at the Spirit that generated all of us in the world today and give us an idea and put everything in the world and give us an idea on how to harness those things in the way that humanity can use, how to harness them, turn them to something that we can use, because it's not everything that is produced that you can just quickly put your hand and take it and make
Use
use
it
of
like
it.
that.
But you put your hand, you take it, you need to go a process of refining before somebody can make use of it.
Yes.
And we said that those idea of refining those things cannot just come from anybody without the Spirit being in the person.
Yes.
Because all of us as the body, without the Spirit, we are like a robot. So it means we are all manipulated by the Spirit. He said here that the ways of man is not of himself. So it means there's a Spirit that directs our activities.
Yeah.
And when is the Spirit of man, you see that we are limited.
Yes.
But when is the Spirit of God, there is no limitation.
Yeah.
So looking at that Spirit of man and looking at the limitation we have today in the world, we can say everybody is functioning with the Spirit of man, not the Spirit of God.
Yes.
Anybody can assume out there,
Yes.
which is why we keep saying that this forum comes out as a result of the birth of God.
Yeah.
from the spirit, that is from the spirit that does not have a limitation in a person. So with that, it means our consciousness, our imagination need to be cast down.
Yes.
Wherever anybody is listening from,
Yes.
need to understand that there is nobody that have that spirit, that fullness of the spirit, which is of God.
Yes.
To show that all of us have a limitation means that none of us have God in us.
Yes.
So nobody should assume. So when we are talking about love, we talk about that concept, that idea that the Spirit has to put everything according to His plan, knowing that this is how I want my people to function, to have a better life.
Yes.
But seeing us, we are not functioning that way.
Yes.
That means we are limited out of the love of God. So we don't have the love.
Yes.
And we say, what could be the reason? What activities are we driving with that shows that there is no love in us? And you talk about when the Spirit of Christ from the Bible shows that He entered into the house of God and drove those that were doing buying and selling
Yes.
in the temple and make a declaration that it is written that my Father's house shall be called a house of prayer. But you have turned it into a den of thieves.
Yes, at the moment.
And the house supposed to be
The body
us,
of man.
which
Yes.
is our body,
Yeah.
as the house of God. But
Yes.
the temple, being the heart of man, is where the corruption
Takes place.
takes place. It's
Yeah.
where the buying and selling take place.
Yes.
Because, like you said, now the corruption, you see that it is a means of we see that as a means of somebody trying to give you something and you collect it,
In order
but it's
to
not
do
in the
something.
process that's supposed to be.
Yes.
So that is, if I give you something because there's something I want you to do for me to gain something,
Yes.
and you get it, it means we are exercising corruption.
Yes.
So if we are exercising corruption, it means there is something that is corruption.
Yes.
But we see that exhibition as corruption in our world, which is what we said.
Yes.
That let's look at where we are speaking from in Nigeria. We see, in short, the world even see it as corruption is the bedrock of Nigeria.
Yes.
They don't, like in the Europe, they don't see themselves as they are also a part of the corruption.
Yes.
They see Nigeria as a corrupt people.
Yes.
But what makes them see us as a corrupt people? Because they see that we are a kind of people that like gains. We like running around things, money, where we gain money. And anytime you see somebody trying to gain money, you are seeing the exhibition of corruption. So when we look at that side of giving things that the Spirit produced or engineer or give to us freely to somebody, and now looking for how to exchange money out of that very thing,
Yes.
we see that is where we all have gone wrong. And that brings the idea of corruption.
Yes.
So it shows that the activities that we carry out is not the activities of that Spirit of God. That's supposed to be a good fruit. The fruit that will bring happiness. The fruit that will bring freedom. The fruit that when another person eats, he will be satisfied
Yes.
in the good purpose of God. Because for us, our own satisfaction would just be, let me just satisfy and then another person just die. That is where the gain I'm talking about come from.
Yeah.
So that corruption, I see that is the engine room of that drive that man.
You
Because
see,
you can see the money, the exhibition of money, exchanging of how we share things, how we give things out to our brothers and sisters. We give it out in the way that we are the one that claim ownership toward those things. And that already eliminates the love. We eliminate the love that we talked about.
But
So-
following this line of thought, you would now realize that before the activity of man can be described as being corrupt,
Yes.
that the man himself is corrupt. But now we are still seeing from what you have said again that what is corrupt isn't the body, but the spirit, that
Even the
engine
deeds.
room.
Isn't isn't the deed of man
When I
that is
say
corrupt.
when I say the body, I'm referring to the container, because we have referred to the body of that's humans now as a container carrying the spirit of man.
Yes.
So it's not the humans that are corrupt
On their own.
their own. It's the spirit of man that is running our activities, our affairs, that is corrupt.
Yes.
So when you are functioning under that spirit of corruption, which is that spirit of man,
Yes.
definitely your activities will be corrupt, because your foundation, your fountain is of corruption, which is that
Which
of man.
now make the man itself corrupt.
Corrupt.
Let's also look at this corruption in these aspects of man, as we keep on saying, what the thing that made man, which is the spirit that occupy man. You see that if you say every man is corrupt, in the sense that as long as you born a sinner, that shows that you are corrupt. It is that corruption that makes us to be a sinner. So before we get on to do whatever we are doing, that foundation is corrupt. Because looking at how we become a sinner, it's not because of what we do. It wasn't what we did that made us to be sinner. It was that spirit that brought us into the existence. That's what makes us sinners as we are. So corruption is not just like what you mentioned concerning, if you look at the outside country, maybe Europe, for example, looking at Nigeria to be a corrupt nation, which is a sign of being sinners, you understand? That's why something can come out from there. Because until you accept that all of us were brought to this world by that spirit, and that spirit that brought us, that is imputed that thing is in us, make us to be sinners. So in that case, you living as, seeing another person to be the corrupt one, that's where Christ said that he didn't come for the righteous, but for the sinners. Because you can really see the lifestyle that they cannot help themselves, because the nature in which they were born into is all over them, you understand? But most of the outside world, they live as, they organize their thing and do in their own thing, their own righteousness, you understand, according to the scripture stated in the Bible, that their righteousness is as a filthy rag, because it's not of him. So the people that you are even looking at being corrupt so much are waiting for the one who will make them, clean, perfect. Is accepting what corruption is first, as a lifestyle of every man on the face of the earth, that was brought by that spirit, waiting for appointed time to come and redeem man from that state. So corruption, looking at from the concept of the spirit, is not something that one person or individuals get up to do. But you cannot eliminate that, because it's carried out by somebody. You understand? That spirit lives in a person and operates. But the operation we are looking at as men is where we are going to be looking, shine lights on, in the sense that corruption you are seeing and be tagging somebody as one person doing this or doing that is not actually what it is. Every man is corrupt in one form or another, because the system that we were born into are not yet organized by the spirit that brought us. You understand?
So from the point you are driving is that, from what I'm hearing now, is I want to see whether this is the understanding I have, is what you are saying, so that anybody out there can understand what we are saying well.
Yes.
It is said that sin is not in the things we do,
Yes.
but sin is who we are.
Yes.
So that is what we are trying to point.
Yes.
So let me look at corruption from that angle, which is what we are saying here.
Yes.
Today, the world believes that corruption is when you give somebody bribe.
Yes.
Let me put it that way.
Yes.
When you take what does not belong to you.
Yes.
That's what we see corruption to be.
Yes.
Because maybe you are put in the office, and there's a way the office demand that you should leave, so that the things can
Go around.
That is why it's always surrounded between money, nothing else.
And you soiled
Well,
somebody's
then-
spirit too.
So maybe you sell something to somebody, and that thing that you are selling Maybe sometimes the price is not what's supposed to be, but you give it out
Yes.
in a price that is like you are eating up the person more.
Yes.
So then we also target corruption.
Yes.
So, but we see corruption like something that somebody can fight. You can even see it into, that's why I use the word in Nigeria, like you said before, and I use Europe, for example, how they see Nigeria to be.
Yes.
If you hear the word corruption, 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 we are fighting corruption, is in the system of the governance in Nigeria here.
Yes.
Not even in Africa,
Which
but
is applicable to every man.
they said Nigeria is, that's why I said they
The
said
most
Nigeria is the
corrupt
center
country.
of corruption.
Yes.
So, and somebody is saying, I'm fighting corruption.
Yes.
And when you see the fight that we do for the corruption, what we do is that if the person that you put in the office is embezzle money, maybe that is who you see as corruption. So when you put somebody that need to eliminate corruption, it means that person that you are putting in need to go and stop people embezzling money.
Yes.
And that is a fight of corruption.
To end corruption.
But I'm saying that the corruption is not in the activities that we do, which is what we are telling the people here.
Yes. So we are.
It's not the activities, because first, you need to understand that there is no how you can carry out activities out of the spirit that makes you. The spirit you carry bring the kind of function that you give out.
Yes.
Which is why you said that our righteousness is like a filthy rag.
Yes.
It means no matter how we try to fancy our living,
Yes.
as long as the spirit that is in us is not right,
Yes.
that means our righteousness is that
Nothing.
picture that we paint.
Yes.
So corruption is not what any man can fight, but rather corruption is something that only the spirit or God can eliminate from everyone.
Yes.
Because right now every of us is corrupt.
You see, from what we have all said so far, it all points to the fact that every human being on the face of this earth is under that spirit of corruption.
Yes.
Because we are all functioning from that spirit of man, just as Brother David said. That it is that spirit of man that is corrupted, which makes whatever we do to be corruption. And the idea of man is the fact that corruption has to do with only embezzlement, bribery, all the top-notch crimes. Let me use it that way. That's what we have termed. We see corruption as only those things. But when it comes to the reality of corruption, it has to do with everything that man does because of the system. Because once the system is corrupted, every other thing follows suit.
Yes.
Because, for instance, let me use this analogy. Let's say I like playing video games. And there's a new game that just came out, but they have not yet released the registered trademarked ones. Those ones that you go to buy from the original people. But I come across somebody who has a pirated version. I know it's a pirated version, but I said, let me just try my luck because I want to play that game. By the time I take that game and I put it in my laptop or my computer, and I start to play the game as I know as I would have played the original one. But you see, because that game, the video game itself is pirated, that copy, once it enters my system, it corrupts my system. And no matter what I do at that moment, as long as it has corrupted that system, the only way I can get my system back is to restore the system. But in doing that, it eliminates all my data that I have stored in that thing because it's a complete reset. It's a complete overhaul. But if it's that I waited to buy it from the original source, I would have still played the game the same way, or without it having any reaction on my device. So what I'm trying to say is that it's the corruption is not because, I'm using this analogy, the corruption is not because I am playing the game or how I play the game. is what corrupted my system. But the fact that what I am using to play that game is what is corrupted. And I would like to draw that reference to us as humans, because we have established that fact on this forum, that the foundation that we were made in is corrupt, is faulty, it cannot stand. That is this foundation that we are functioning under, every single human being. And as a result of that, every one of us are a product of that foundation. So we are all corrupted from the foundation. And like you said concerning how we fight corruption, is to put somebody that will stop those who are embezzling money. But the embezzlement of the money is not what the problem is. You understand? The embezzlement of the money is not what the problem is. The problem, the main foundational problem that corrupts the whole system, is the fact that you need money to survive in this world.
Yes.
That is what is corruption. Because if you didn't need money to survive in this world, what will carry you to go and embezzle the money? Just like that's why we have said that corruption is not necessarily the things you do, but what pushes you, which is the system that we were made in. So it goes to the fact that even the woman that is selling that is hawking pure water,
It's corrupt.
is corrupt, is functioning under corruption. The one that is in the office, the big corner office, is working under corruption. The one that is that owns his own business, that is a clean businessman, whatever he says, as we see it, is functioning under corruption. Because the main problem that corrupts everything we do is the fact that that foundation we are living under, the foundation of money, which is what brought about this corruption, the foundation of money is wrong.
Yes.
It's already a corrupted foundation. So whatever we do, whatever result we get from that system, is already corrupting us.
And that you can tie it to the conversation I had with somebody earlier today. You were saying that in this our country is so corrupt that he wants to leave the country and go abroad. He said that how can a landlord just wake up one morning and decide to increase the rent just like that? So that is the corrupt nature. That's the corrupt nature of this our country. So I said, it's because we have accepted the fact that our world runs with money. Normal that you should run around and have the money to go and give to somebody in order to get a place to put your head down. I said, it's because you have accepted that as being normal. That's why when he increases the rent in which you have to pay, it's not normal and it's corrupt. I said, look at it from the foundation, which is what Ada is trying to draw our attention to. I said, if the Spirit who brought each and every one of us brought us with the need to have a place to shed ourselves from rain, sunshine, and some other kind of
Elements.
He definitely had that as a plan. So he gave to a few number of us the idea or talent on how to
Erect
build
buildings.
houses of different kinds, different structures, so we can have a place to lay our heads. And that talent or that insight wasn't given to everybody.
Yes.
So everybody can't build his own house.
Yes.
So what that simply means is that there are those who are in a position to build houses for others to stay in.
Yes.
But because the idea or the insight was given to those people, and out of the nature of corruption, the nature of man that is in them,
Yes.
we have now taxed or we have now put the burden on those who don't have that insight or who don't have the capacity to build, to scramble around the world, to look for money, to pay, to stay in that place which was meant to be accessible to them by the Spirit of the Lord, who gave you the enablement to do what you have just done for the service of humanity. So you can look at that too as a foundation, as the foundation of corruption.
That is even the
And
foundation.
to see how blinded we are about the foundational problem that we have, just like you made mention of this housing stuff, you can see that with the inspiration that was given to a few, there's provision for it to reach everybody.
Yes.
But because of money, some are limited.
Yes.
and are now restricted from having that access.
Yes.
But the major fact is not that there is not enough buildings in this world, or there is not enough land to build buildings. Because like this our country now, there is a place you will go to that they call the upper ring now, like GROA and all those places. You will see lines of buildings that are already erected to its full capacity, but they are vacant, and there are people on the streets, because we have decided that it is normal that you must pay before you have where to stay. So if for somebody
Before we even talk about paying, we talked about the first thing is that monopoly.
Somebody has owned it.
That spirit of man that monopolizes things, make things our own.
Yeah.
And you cannot make things your own if it's not coming from that spirit of man.
Yes.
So when we are using the word foundation, we are not using the word foundation as, I don't know what we call foundation, but the foundation is the introduction of the spirit of man into the body.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
That
what
is the foundation.
is.
Yes.
So as long as that spirit is introduced into a man, and that spirit is that spirit of corruption,
Yes.
that spirit is the corruption itself.
Yes.
So as long as anybody is carrying that spirit, that person automatically is corrupt.
Yes.
And you are not corrupt because you choose to be corrupt,
Yeah.
or to be corrupted.
Yeah.
It is because the first phase of man is a corrupt state.
Which
That
is
first
sin
phase of
nature.
man is a state
Yes.
in everybody.
Yes.
That's why there is nobody in the world today that is not corrupt.
Yes.
That's why you said that the woman selling pure water, sachet water on the street is corrupt.
It's corrupt.
The one selling groundnut is corrupt. She doesn't need to, tell you maybe, or you keep money and she come and carry it and hide and say, no, she didn't see your money. That is not what corruption is. Corruption is first. Even if you like, go and buy that thing 200 naira and come and tell people, no, I bought it 200, no, I decided to sell 150 naira to be a good person. You are corrupt. Because first, you are not even supposed to buy.
Yes.
You are not even supposed to sell. Which is what I talked about, the activities of corruption.
Yes.
So the activities of corruption means there is something that is corrupt, that you are carrying out the activities of that thing.
Yes.
And that thing that is corrupt is the spirit of man.
Yes.
The Bible tags it corruption.
Yes.
And it said that we will be free from the bondage of corruption. I would like us to read that.
Yes.
Because when we say this, somebody need to understand that these things are scriptural. They are there. But you cannot understand them until the chosen one to whom the spirit now put the right spirit in him to come and free us from that bondage of corruption can now be.
So that's
Romans 8
verses 20 and
from
21.
19.
Okay, I should read from 19. Okay, are we there? All right, I go. Romans 8 verse 19. For the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of God. Verse 20. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who had subjected the same in hope.
Please hold that, because I would like everybody to listen to that. He said, for the creature was made subject to vanity.
Yeah. Not willingly.
And when we talk about the creature, we are talking about humanity as a whole.
Yes.
That is why we said in one of the moments that when he said, go ye into the world and preach the gospel to every creature, that magnet is not, it wasn't given to any man to do, because as long as you are a creature, you do not have the right to go and preach to another person. But because this thing that we read, when we read the letter, we think that because we know how to read, so the Spirit has given us a work to go and do. That's why I say, call no man your teacher, because no man is qualified to become a teacher except that Christ himself. And how do you get Christ?
Okay.
How do you get Christ? The only way you can have the Christ in a generation is by whom the Spirit has found worthy to dwell in. That is who the Christ is. First.
Yeah, and I remember we even made a small joke about it, and we said that if that particular scripture was referring to everybody, that means nobody as well should preach to another.
Yes.
Because when I read it and I go to you, I said that the Bible says I should preach the gospel to all creatures. I can as well tell you back that the Bible has told me to as well to preach to all creatures.
Yes.
So when you go to the next person will tell you the same
same
thing.
thing.
Yeah.
So it shows you that it's going to create
Confusion.
which is what we see going around in the world today.
Yeah.
That's what I just wanted to add to what you were saying.
So it is from that point you can see that we don't have the right
Yes.
to be the one to go and preach to our fellow creature as long as we are the creature.
Yes.
But you see, when these commands are made, they are made to the one that the Spirit has his plan, which is the concept of the Spirit we keep saying here. That the concept of the Spirit says, as long as I generated humanity, all of them under sin, they do not have the right to go and preach to another person. But when I want to want to bring the preacher to them, there is a preacher, and there cannot be two in every generation. So that Spirit will now generate a person by whom he knows that this person is not under sin as everybody. So blessed is he by whom the Lord imputed no sin. Is talking to the choosing one.
One person.
And that person is the one now that is the creator. You think that somebody looking like you is like you. That is why I say God is not a man. This thing you can put them anywhere you want to, based on this line of thought. So that when that Spirit is ready to help a people, we have been saying that here. I don't know what humanity want from us, how they want us to put this thing, for them to understand that we are not qualified to carry this Bible and be going around preaching for people. Because preaching is not even reading the Bible. Preaching is coming to prepare people to remove them from that life of bondage.
Which is the corrupt.
And what is the life of bondage? That spirit of man already put everybody into that circle of living that cannot lead you to anywhere.
Yes.
It's a bondage living. So it's coming from that corrupt spirit.
And you can tie that to very simple and basic instances. Because I remember as you were talking, you said that man, as we are now, we can't operate outside of the spirit that is inside of us.
Yes.
That it's not as if we decided to be corrupt.
We are not.
But it's because of that spirit that is inside of us. That's why we are corrupt.
Yes.
You can relate that to, for instance, now we have different operating systems for devices. You can't get an Android device and expect it to work like a Windows or like an iOS device. Once you get an Android device, it will definitely work like an Android. The only way you can have a device operate like an iOS or a Windows device is if you get a device that has that software imputed in it from the very beginning.
Yes.
So the preacher is the person who is coming to prepare the people and remove that nature of man from them, so he can impute or install a new software in men, which is that life of
That
God.
is the work of the preacher. So when these things they are there in the Bible, but they are not the things that are given to man to know.
Yes.
Rather than that choosing one. That is why the person is a choosing one. Not a choosing one because he made himself. He's a choosing one because that is how the Lord designed. So that humanity as a whole can become one people. Having one knowledge, one understanding, one life. Becoming, he never set boundaries. So when we are talking about corruption, you can see that is all this life we are living, all this living is coming from that spirit of man. But we have said that it is what the Lord engineered.
Yes.
So when he said that the first phase of man, as we keep saying here, people don't understand. What we are saying is that it's a program. So when you are seeing the Lord of hosts, he's the spirit that is in charge of this program. First, he brought in man. and man become everybody in the entire world. So in the midst of man, he brought out somebody, one person that he called God. That God, it doesn't fall from the sky. He's a person looking like us, but he's carrying a different spirit.
Yeah.
A different spirit. So when he said that you cannot put an old wine, a new wine, into an old bottle, it's because the bottle himself is not just an empty. There's an old wine inside the bottle.
Yes.
So how do you put old, new wine? You wash. You make sure that bottle is clean.
And let me even buttress that thing you are saying concerning this. God is not a man that we keep on emphasizing, that it will be a body. Looking at us as men, that we carry out that spirit of, that is the spirit of man is in us. And let us also remember that it wasn't us that put that spirit in our bodies. It was the spirit
that is why I said
of the
one
Lord.
that engineer everything is called the Lord himself.
Yes, so likewise the one that you will bring, even though you see him in our midst as a person, it is that spirit who decided that that body that he brings in the midst of us now
Use your mic.
is the spirit of God that will come and correct that nature of man that it was imputed in us. So that what makes the difference. It will look like us, but the spirit that the Lord who imputed this sin in us, putting in him, is different from
Use your mic.
different from the spirit that we carry out. So that was make God to be with us. So you will see him as a person, but that person is not the same spirit like the one we carry.
In other words, just as man was subjected to vanity, not willingly,
Yes.
that is the same way the spirit of the Lord as well will still impose his will,
Subject that.
subject
That
somebody
God,
as
yes,
well
yes.
to be God
Yes.
in the midst of the people.
Yes, it's not the choice of the person.
It's not because the person is making the choice to be God.
No.
Because most times when we talk about, because there are those who have come to say that they are gods.
Yes.
Though we all are gods, and you say it's a small G. Besides, nobody you talking about. That's how it is. It's a small G. But there are those who have come to claim to be the ones with the big G. It's a claim.
Yes, because it's not given to you.
We all see how it turns out. So that's why now when you're saying that God has to be a person in our midst, somebody will be like, how can?
Yeah.
It's not
People
even.
even ask me, is it the big G?
It's not. Sometimes we don't even say, is it the big G? We say, say that's how so person came some time ago and claimed he was God too.
That is claim.
That's how
Check the
so and so
foundation
person
of the
came
person.
too as well and claimed to be God. That's because it's a claim.
Yes.
But when it's the person of God, when it is God, it's not a claim.
Yes.
So how will you now know that it's not a claim? That's why you see
That's why
an
I said, test
instruction.
all
They
the
say
spirits.
try all spirits.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to mention. Because the introduction of a fake something, what we describe as fake, is because the original is out there somewhere.
Yes.
You can't tag something to be a fake when it doesn't have original.
Yeah.
So for something to be fake, there definitely is the original. So if people have come and claimed to be God, that's because there is God somewhere.
Yes.
So what we have to do is to keep trying in order to identify the real God.
Which is the new? This thing there. That's why I said we don't know the scripture. When he said that you do err, you do not know the scripture nor the power of God. No man knows that, because when you are talking about that spirit that bet himself in a generation to begin a work that will correct the rest. You see, we have what is called in one of the moments we need to bring that when we talk about the new wine and the old wine. I just made a statement. Now I made a statement. That statement is that you cannot put a new wine into an old bottle.
Yes.
Now the question is, what is the old wine and what is a new wine? From that statement I made and what is written, you see what it is.
Which is still the same thing that the children was.
The world today is dwelling with that old wine.
Yes.
That old wine. And everybody is, is a marriage of in Ghana, as you call it. The marriage in Ghana. That's what I said, that in one of the moments we will need to bring that. to clarify the air, because there's an assumption, there's a kind of imagination when we are reading those things. So when you are now seeing the new wine, there's always a new wine. And new wine will always come at the end of the feast. That's when the new wine come out. So when we are talking about the Spirit of God bettered in the generation, it's a new wine on its own. Because we have been drinking of the old wine all these years. But I don't want to go into that yet. I'm saying in one of the moments, we'll bring it out. Because we need to bring that light to our world to really know what are we up to, because there is something that we need to be up to right now.
So,
and that thing we need to be up to is how to reinstall back to the original state of man, which is the illustration that you gave before.
Yeah.
You know, and the restoration, when we keep hearing the restoration, I told you when a pastor saw me when I went to meet my mom one time, and in the church he started preaching restoration. And for him, the restoration is that the Lord will restore you back what you have lost. The restoration was, as you see me now, he has seen restoration. So the Lord don't restore me now to my mom. But we are talking about restoration. We don't know what restoration means. And restoration cannot be without the process of cleaning the people so that I can put back what's supposed to be.
which is the work of Elias.
That is what it is. That is why the advent of God in a generation bring that restoration to humanity.
Yes.
And nobody can do that restoration without what is called baptism. And all these things, we have been discussing them. So today we are now looking at what corruption is. From what you are reading, you see that he said the creature was made subject to vanity.
Yes. Not willingly.
Not willingly, but by the reason of him who have subjected him.
Who are subjected the same.
The same.
In hope.
The same is the people,
Yes.
the man as a whole.
The creature himself.
He subjected us, but he has a hope for us to be delivered.
Yes.
Now the question is, the hope that is seen, he says it's not hope. Because there has been a hope, and the hope is in God to come and free us.
Yes.
And we claim that we have the God. We don't know that God has been the hope that we have.
Yes.
So it is now when the hope, now the God now come, that hope now we need to cease. Because it needs to now become reality.
So looking at this man and the corrupt nature of man, you can see that it's not something you can point a finger at one country
No.
Or one person.
or
sef.
one person as we used to do. That's why he stated that we should not judge, because our judgment is towards condemnation. But the judgment of God is to shine the lights on us to be able to see that all of us are involved in that same thing. So that makes everybody to be subject to his own judgments.
There's something you said before when you were talking about the reason why God, the reason why Nigeria have the privilege now to be the pointer
Yes.
from where the God has chosen to bet himself to
Yes.
born into.
Yes.
That first, it is demanded that if you are made a sinner, if you were made a sinner,
Yes.
you need to accept the fact that you are a sinner.
Yes.
And that is what will grant you more opportunity for the better living.
Yes.
But those who claim that they are not sinners,
Yes.
they are the ones that will be facing the condemnation.
Yes.
Because even when the right thing is coming, when they need to be corrected, they will think that they're already
Yes.
good.
Yes.
So looking at the outside country, whom we think that their system is good, which is what you said before.
Who structure the system?
When somebody said that I'm tired of Nigeria, so I want to go abroad or Europe to go and
America.
have a living. For there, they believe that the system is very good.
Seeing that the system runs under money, is with money.
You know the illustration you made before. The thing is that when you go to the outside country that you are going to live, you are still going to live in somewhere that you pay money.
Yes.
You are not going to live free.
Yes.
But what we are saying here, that the life that God comes with, is saying that we are not even supposed to tax our brothers
Yes.
Ask ourselves.
or tax ourselves, because that alone is coming from that spirit of man that is corrupt.
Yes.
So the only way that can be eliminated is by the Spirit of God, in whom the Spirit of the Lord have chosen to say, no, I'm going to redeem my
People.
corrupt people.
Yes.
And that is by eliminating money totally out of the picture.
Yes.
Because
Everything that
it's,
has to do with money.
yes, because it's not just like you made mention of how we fight for corruption is to change the person that is there so that the person that is there will not allow people to embezzle money. But as long as money is still in the picture, corruption will keep on spreading.
You see why?
It's-
You see that? You see why? I just want to say this. The reason why he said that the love of money is the root of all evil. If all of us are operating under that money consciousness, that is the root of.
That means the root of the money is coming from that spirit of man. It's
Yes.
evil himself.
So there's no way you can operate with money and think that you can carve out a territory or a system for you. You think that is good.
A safe ground.
Yes. So as far as we are operating with money, there's a root of evil in whatever we are doing. So we
There's-
are not free.
So I would
There's
like
no
us to
middle
read that
ground.
21. We read 20. The creature was made subject to vanity.
Yes.
Okay. So Romans 8, this is verses 21.
Yes.
He said, because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the glorious liberty of the children of God. Should I go on?
Do you hear that?
Yes.
Because the creature itself will be delivered from that bondage of corruption. So the life, the struggle, the cry, the weeping that is going on today in the world, that it shows the bondage that we have been into.
Yes.
And that bondage is the bondage of what?
Corruption.
Corruption.
It's coming from that spirit of man.
Yes.
So where will we deliver from is that bondage, that suffering that the spirit of man has put us into
Yes.
the glorious liberty of the children of God. That is to say, until that is done in you, you cannot say you are a child of God.
Yes.
You can't. So if you are living under that limitation of this suffering of man, you can't say you are a child of God. That is why he said that the earnest expectation of the creature waited for the manifestation of the sons of God. It means until we have been delivered from that bondage to become a product of God, we cannot say there will be help in this world.
Yes.
And you can't get that without the Spirit first doing that work in that first person that He will come with to deliver the rest.
And if you look at what the people will call corrupt people self, let me use the instance of the government. The people who call corrupt people in the government that are embezzling money and hiding dirty deals, those people were elected by us
As a good
to
people.
put in that thing, to put in that post. You understand? So the person now that you are going to elect to fight the corruption, to stop that thing, how sure are you that the person will not still go there, and even if he stops others, he starts his own? Because you cannot know the mind of somebody you are putting in that office. That is why when it comes to who is to lead a people, it is not the people that is to choose a leader for themselves.
The person is not corrupt until he gets into the place.
I'm just saying based on how we see
Look
it.
at it this way. When you are saying that somebody is corrupt, based on the instance you are giving now, you're saying that somebody is corrupt because he's embezzling money and doing all sorts of sorts. You are the one who elected him to be in that place. You went and did thumbprint for him to be in that
Yes.
place.
He say he's qualified to be.
That's because you yourself, you are corrupt.
Yes.
So you have just appointed a fellow corrupt person to go and be in that office. Because you're the one who said that this is a person that should lead you. And all of a sudden you're saying the person is corrupt. That's because you yourself, you are corrupt. That's why what you brought forth to be the leader is still a corrupt person.
That's why the bottom line of the fact is that it's not election, or it's not our fellow men that can remove that corruption or that can eradicate corruption. Because when it comes to corruption, it has to do with the foundation, like we have established. And when it comes to the foundation, no man knows the foundation. No man knows the problem that comes with that foundation. And no man knows how to correct the foundation. You understand? Because we don't even know that the foundation is corrupted. You understand? Because even like you said because we have come to see corruption to be that somebody, like the instance you made, landlord is raising rents for a house overnight. say, but that is because we are seeing that one as corruption, because we have come to accept,
To normalize,
to
having
normalize
pay
the fact that we
parents.
have to pay money to live in a building. You see, we don't even know that the fact that you need to pay money in order to live in a building is corruption already. It's already corrupted. You understand? So if we don't know that, how can we fight that? How can we remove that? That is why you made mention of the fact that it has to be that person of God, that spirit who put us in that foundation. Because when it comes to that place we read, he said the creature was made subject to vanity by somebody.
Yes.
You understand? Because when he says you are subjected to something, somebody subjected you to that. So this vanity that we are said to be living under, we are subjected to live like that by the spirit that made us. Because he has a plan. He has a concept he works by. And that concept is that I will redeem my people from this bondage of corruption I put them in by this person who I will choose to use and remove them from that foundation. And when it comes to that foundational son, it once that foundation is corrected, once that foundation has been attacked, you see, every other thing falls in line.
And
Like
there's no man that can attack the foundation. There's no man, because this thing we are saying here, you know, we talked when we discussed the other day, when we were talking about love. At the end of this thing, we now make emphasis that this thing we are explaining is not what man can live.
Yes.
It's not a life of man, it's a life of God.
Yes.
And when you are talking about the life of God, he will come from God. But he comes from God, then you see God, and you now see how the life spread.
Yes.
It's a mystery that nobody can influence. You can't. That is what the things that has to do with God. That is how he is set for himself. That you see a function that you know that no human can carry, but somebody looking like you is carrying it. Today we are talking about monopoly, how to own things. Can you survive in this world without having something? Without owning things as your own? You cannot. Because that is what the spirit of man needs. But today, we are living here, we are talking here to show that somebody can survive in this world without having something, owning something.
Yes.
The question is, who are those who can survive without having something attached to them?
Because when it even comes to this ownership self, it is us that sees that you must own something before you can use it. Because the thing that you are using does not see whether you are the owner or not.
Yes.
Because, for instance, now when it comes to a sword, the sword is not, if you pick up, let me say, I went to Brokufra and I took his sword to use. The sword will not say, you are not the one, that you are not my owner, leave me alone. I will not kill somebody because you are not the owner. As long as you are holding that sword, the sword will follow you wherever you are going. The sword does not have mouth to shout, you are not my owner. You understand? That is why even it applies to everything. It is not even the things that's why he made mention of the fact that you can survive without owning anything. Because when it comes to the use of things, you don't need to be the owner of something in order to use something.
When I say you cannot survive without owning anything, we need to understand that. See, this world, we as man, has been programmed. There is no how you can survive without owning something.
Because that's where the life of man is.
That is man.
Yes.
Now, we are saying this now, but we are living in this world.
Yes.
But we are surviving without owning something.
Yes.
The question is,
Who can make it
are
possible?
we truly living in that world?
Yes.
You see, there's a word we are talking about now.
Yes.
That's what you need to understand when the word is used, a word. We are talking about a word that's supposed to be
It's a consciousness.
on top this word.
Says on top of this word.
Do you understand? Because you need to overtake the word.
Yes.
It's a consciousness of living.
Yes.
So it's not that, when we are talking about this word, we think say this word now, you will come, fire go burn them, or water go float everywhere, then we will come disappear, go to another place. No. A word is a consciousness. That is why the things that has to do with God is a consciousness. The living you are living as man is a consciousness.
Yes.
So talking about God, you are talking about a consciousness. It's not one person that will fall from the sky. It means somebody in your midst. The Spirit has come with the consciousness of a new living, and that consciousness brings a capacity that is not limited.
Please let us read something.
No, before we read that, it's just like saying, because you have said that in this world you can't survive without owning things, and that's how it is. And we are not saying again that you can survive without owning things.
Yes.
But in which world? As in, who establishes that world?
Yes.
We say that we are of the world, or we are in the world, and we are not of the world. And we said it's not possible to be in the world and not be of it, when all your activity, all your living is subjected to the foundation of the world. That the only way you can be in the world and not of the world is when the person of God is on ground to establish his foundation, where you can leave the foundation of the world and stand on his own foundation. So that even when people are seeing you in the same planet, so I know you talk of in the same planet, because that's what we know what to be. In the same planet, they are seeing you, but your function, your activities are different, which is what they're talking about now, the consciousness. Yes. And you can't operate in the world and not be of the world if you are not established on a different foundation that the world is not operating on. So in simple terms, you can say that being in the world and not of the world, it's not possible if the person of God doesn't establish his foundation for you to leave that world's foundation and be on his own foundation to operate on. I don't know if you get what I'm saying.
That's just the bottom line.
That is why I said, from the point of where I'm ending it is this. I said, you can't survive in this world without owning something.
Yes.
But I'm saying at the same time, we are talking this thing, but we are surviving in this world, but we don't own anything. Yes. And waiting to bring again is, how does that happen? And how can that happen to somebody out there? Because there are a lot of people out there who want to live that kind of life, who wishes to live that kind of life, but they can't live it, which is the point we are making.
Yes.
Because God, who's supposed to bring that life, is not there. So there's no how you can live that life. There's no how. Yes. So right now we are talking this thing because we keep saying in this program that the reason why we have this forum, the reason why we establish this is not because we want to teach people something out there. It's because we are trying to share the good news, pass a good news to our world, to understand that there is He whom we must look for. And to make that seeking of God in a generation, to make it short, easy for us, is the reason why we bring out this forum. To let our people understand that the God we are waiting for is with us.
Yes.
That is all I want to tell anybody listening to us. It's with us. That is why we are saying this thing. Somebody asked me, but man doesn't fall from heaven again. I said, how do you know? It's because you have described heaven to be one sky place that somebody need to fly and go to.
Yes.
That is why I brought the consciousness. When I said, when you are talking about the world, you are talking about the consciousness.
Yes.
The man living is a consciousness.
Yes.
The spirit living, the God living is a consciousness. So when you are expecting to have God in a generation, you are expecting to have somebody looking like us, but with a different consciousness and a different capacity, because that consciousness of the purposeful spirit is to bring a capacity that no man can carry. And that is who we have. That is why we are saying this thing. So when the person is asking me of manna, I say manna can never stop falling from the place of God. Heaven is the place of God. But what do you call the place of God? When the God, that spirit, bring himself into a generation, he has a person that is going to establish as God.
Yes.
So when you belong to that process, you don't own anything. So everything that will be coming from that Father, that person of that spirit, to be taking care of everybody. Now, when you are now eating everything from that source, you are not the one laboring for it. You are not the one that owns them. Is that not manna? Manna is that you go to God and take something to live, to eat and live, which is not the things that you suffer for.
And if you check based on what was put there as a picture for us to see. The manna fell for the Israelites, the
Children of Israel.
of Israel.
Yes.
So it paints a picture of,
Who that manna is for. Or
just as you said, who the manna is for. That it's
Where
for,
the manna come from and who the manna supposed to serve.
because we have described Israel not to be some country, whether it's in the
the Middle East.
in the Middle East or somewhere
significant of Israel.
or somewhere in Europe. I think Israel is somewhere in Europe or in the Middle East. It's not one country, but just as I said, it's a consciousness. It's the people that rule.
The name Israel, according to the Bible design, the significance of that name is the presence of the person of God.
So when you say the children of Israel,
You are now talking about the
people who are functioning under that person of God.
Yes.
So the manna now coming to the children of Israel are to those who have fallen under the feet of that person of God.
Yes.
To submit to him and have that his life with him.
Yes.
And you can tie that to what you are talking about of why we established this forum. Don't forget that there was a picture equally painted there as well, that Christ was with his disciple, and he made a statement. If they tell you that Christ is here, don't go. They tell you he is here, don't go. If he tell you he's there, don't go. And don't forget, nobody knows who God is.
Yes.
Nobody knows who Christ is. So when you have somebody telling you that Christ is so and so place, and you are now saying that I can read Bible say that
Bible
you should
say.
not go. Don't forget, based on the picture there, he was still talking to somebody and telling the people
From somewhere.
from somewhere.
Don't even use that one. Let's use this one. Today we have the Bible.
Yes.
We call it the book of the Spirit, not so.
Yes.
And the Bible is talking about Christ as a spirit
Yes.
or God as a spirit.
Yes.
Now, when the Spirit is coming, the Spirit is not coming out inside the Bible. It's not coming out from here.
Yes.
The Spirit is going to come from the Spirit, whatever is coming from, and it's going to be in somebody. And that person is not inside this book. So it means the person will be established wherever the Spirit chooses to establish himself. That is why we go to the men that we call pastors.
Yes,
Because we assume that the Spirit lives in them. So when that Spirit now comes to establish his presence in a person, wherever the person established from, it means he's somewhere.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for me, I'm coming.
Okay.
For me, it will be a privilege for somebody to have a news from another person to tell him, so I have found, or we have discovered that there's somebody with this Spirit of God. Because you are talking about the Spirit of God.
Yes.
Even if you don't tell somebody that, this one where they tell people about, come and worship in this church, this pastor has something. It's the same thing that we are doing. Is it because we don't say this person have Christ? But we they even assume that the person have Christ.
Yes.
So that thing that we invite people to church, to what we call church, this denomination, is the same thing.
Yes.
So in other words, what we are just doing here on this forum is that we are like those people now, based on the picture that was there, who encountered that person of God. And based on how far we have related with this said person, we are like, we need to let our loved ones know. We need to let people know, because we didn't know that this person was the person of God when we encountered him.
Yes.
And based on how far it has gone, you now realize that not everybody will be privileged enough to encounter this person the way we have encountered this person. So you now realize that without those of us who have encountered this person acting like those people who we have told, or who Christ was speaking to supposedly from the picture that was painted here, to let those who weren't there when he was talking to understand that he heard from Christ somewhere based on that picture painted there, that we are all looking for God, we are all searching for God, hoping to get help from him, and nobody knows him.
Yes.
But then again, a time will come when there are those who have encountered him, just as that picture was there painted. And it's those people who have encountered him that will let the others know, that will let the rest know that Christ, whom we all are looking for, we encountered him somewhere.
Yes. Yes.
So, in order for you to locate this Christ now, whom we all have been searching for, this is where he
Christ,
is.
yes.
This is where you can find him.
Yes.
So basically, that is what the establishment of this forum is for. Because when we talk about this thing, we always say that how you can't sit or stay wherever you are and use the information we bring to you from this forum to do anything. Because that foundation that needs to be established for you to be able to live the way God wants or God expects from us hasn't been established everywhere. So you need to locate that person of God. So even when you are in the world, you are not of the world. And that can only happen when you develop or have that contact or connection with the person of God.
So before we go on to read what I wanted us to read, let me also say something concerning this Christ is somewhere. You say when they say Christ is here, don't go. If they tell you he's in the desert, don't go. But in this our world, we think that we have sense. We can read the Bible. Even the one we are doing, let's look at it. For the fact that you build a place, when you talk of Christ, it seems like it's not God. Christ is God. He's the Spirit of God. You build a place and call it where God is. You understand? And you are telling people are going there. And when you reach there, you will not see God. That's what you will even accept as a man. You prefer that one. Because that place you go to, he says is where God is. And you get there, there's no God. Then somebody will now tell you that I've seen this person that is God. That's where you will kick against that. How can he be? But why did you have the mindset of going to a place that there's no God and you think that God is there?
You know, I like to use this word because, you know, in our world now, when you say, somebody say, you can't see God. You understand? So, I need somebody to understand this. From what we are saying here, it's not that somebody meet us on the road or we meet somebody say he's God. It's not. But we are saying from what we keep saying here that we come across somebody in the course of following this so-called men of God or church who talks to us to let us know that this thing that you are doing is not what God called church.
Yes.
He didn't say it's not what I call church as God. This is not church. And started showing us what's supposed to be. And for me, I follow it up. I try to listen of the things the teaching he has to teach me. And today I can tell you sincerely that is the birth of the Spirit in the person.
Yes.
It's not an assumption. So the question is the things that the person is capable of doing. I have seen that no man on the face of this earth can do.
Yes.
And only God can do that.
Yes.
So that's why we are saying, because that voice has an impact, a capacity to put every of the human challenge that we have into its place. Who is that person? So that is why everyone needs to find out,
Yes.
to see. Because let nobody think that somebody tell them, they don't put things in their head. Actually, there must be something put in your head before you can have things right.
Yes.
If God doesn't put, somebody told me, you have been brainwashed. I laughed. I said, yes, sir. When we use the word brainwash, it's like a wrong thing.
Yeah, it's derogatory.
I was born, according to what we know as human, born a child without knowledge. And God, the Spirit who expects that the way I am empty should just be empty until He comes and impact His own knowledge in me. My parents didn't wait. They pushed me into the school. I went to the school. Humans put all the put in my brain to dirty the brain.
Yes.
When God comes, what do you think He will do?
It's to
wash away those brain.
Yes.
That is why He said, if a man is in Christ, behold, all things. How will all things pass away if he doesn't wash that nonsense out?
Yes.
To reinstall a new thing.
Yes.
That is why I said before, man is a consciousness.
Yes.
He gives you a consciousness of the living that you carry out.
Yes.
So is God when He comes. He gives you a consciousness. The thing is that the mystery that surrounds this Spirit, nobody can tell. But we are sitting down here because we have been shown to let the people know. Even all the things that we do as prayer, whatever thing we do has a pattern. Everything has a pattern.
The concepts.
Spiritual things must be exercised spiritually,
For it
Yes.
to work its
not by
intended
men,
purpose.
not by men, but by the one who is spirit,
Yes.
but in men.
Yes.
Because today we think that men can prepare men. You know, that's how we put it. Men can prepare men because they have been giving some gift to men to prepare men for God. You know, those are the problems we have. So we have them now everywhere, men everywhere. But looking at what we do when we use the word corruption, because I don't want us to go out of that. But everything we are talking here, we are talking under the influence of that correction that come to remove us from that consciousness of corruption.
Yes.
Because the consciousness that is corrupt is the one we have been driving. Yes. And you can see the way it leads us. So let's not go out of that.
Yes.
So nobody think that you are talking about corruption. Why are you extending this thing like this? When we are talking about corruption, we are talking about the spirit of man that bring this thing. First, what they bring is my own. Because he's a God of the belly.
So let's read something in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, from verse 42 to 44. Then we now read 54 at last.
1 Corinthians
15, verses 42 to 44 and 54. Are we there?
Let's read from 41.
Okay, let's start from 41. Are we there?
Yeah, go on.
There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. So also is the resurrection of the dead. It is sown in corruption, it is raised in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor, it is raised in glory. It is sown in weakness, it is raised in power. It is sown in a natural body, it is raised a spiritual body. There is a natural body, and there is a spiritual body. 54. So when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up
in victory.
in victory. From this reading that we just read, you can see that the thing is not just as magic as my brother said. He said it's a consciousness. The first consciousness of man was this corruption. He said it is come with the corruption, a corrupt mindset, a corrupt consciousness. So you will start working from that state to be transformed to the state that is of God, in order to be raised from that as a natural body to be raised as a spiritual body, from this dishonor to raised honor. So you can see that it's not something that you just, by the snap of your finger, the thing happen. It has to go through a process, which we are discussing here. That man, as it is, he was brought by the Spirit of the Lord as a sinner, not by the will of the man.
As a corrupt vessel.
Yes. So he takes that spirit at his appointed time, as we are saying in this forum, that he has decided to bring a person, a body, that carry out this spirit, in which he will come to raise us from that corruptible state to acquire the incorruptible, for us to have the life that is of God, that can stay. So that is the process that this thing has to go through. When you look at when he talks about God, when you hear the issues that has to do with God, if you have ears, you should hear. Because it's not, we are not saying in this platform we are just to praise somebody is God. But God is coming to do a work. When you listen to the issues we raise in this platform, on this platform, you can see that it has something to do with the nature of man, how the nature of man has to be removed. And there's no man that can do that work on himself, rather than the one that has the superior authority over that man, that spirit of man, in order to walk the man out from the state of that consciousness of corruption.
It's called a dead state.
Yes.
From what we are reading now.
Yes.
Because this is a process. This is now a walk to come out from that state. from what you are reading now, is a work
Yes.
that can bring out from the state of that corruption
Yes.
to a state of incorruptible.
Yes.
And that process cannot be carried out without the person of God.
Yes.
That's why we keep saying that everything we discuss here, you can't get it with a slap of finger. It must be coming out from that person of that choosing of the Lord
Yes.
to prepare humanity. You get? But what is he going to prepare us out from? There's a life that we have been living. And this life, people think that is a normal thing. We even preach it in the church. I would like us to read something in John 12. John 12 from 1 to 7.
Then Jesus, 6 days before the Passover, came to Bethany, where Lazarus was, which had been dead, whom he raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served. But Lazarus was one of them that sat at the table with him. Then took Mary a pound of ointment of spikenard, very costly, and anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair. And the house was filled with the odor of the ointment. Then said one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, which should betray him, why was not this ointment sold for 300 pence and given to the poor? This,
Odin, remember that point. You know, there's activities of humanity. There's activities of, we like to sell and buy. And we have said before you can have something that you have to sell out, is because you have attached value to that thing as your own. As your own. This is a very good mindset
Yes.
from him. It's a very good mindset. This thing now is supposed to bring out an income for us.
Yes.
How will you just waste this thing?
So using it is a
Eh?
waste.
This thing is a waste when you are
Selling
using
it,
it like this. So
when
it's
you
supposed
sell
to,
it has value.
bring out more, sow it and bring out more. That is what is in the world. Even when you listen to what we call preachers, that is what they tell you.
So that particular thing, what is it for? That is it not to be used?
The activities of man, that activities of buying and selling, that activities of gain, which I said before, that when we talk about love, you can see where we miss it. And we drive in money, you can see where we miss it. Because money is the introduction that adulterates the part of the love of God.
Yes.
And the consciousness of money is not because man just wanted it. It's because that is how the Spirit programmed humanity to go. First. But you see, the next thing he said shows you the work that we miss, which must be corrected.
Verse
6. This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but because he was a thief, and had the bag, and bare what was put therein.
Let me go from there one by one.
Make my father's house a den of
Today in the world, you see people who have money, billions of naira. That is why we said before, it's not how much you give to somebody. It's not how you give to somebody. It's not how free you think you know how to give to somebody. It's all coming from that corrupt spirit.
Yes.
Because somebody will get something today. You see people go around, sharing things to people. And that is the kind of person you may see that, this kind of person, if he enters as a president, he will lead us very well because he's not corrupt. You know how to even discharge the one he has.
Entice the men.
He doesn't gather for himself, but he gather.
Yes.
But he doesn't gather the way some people gather.
Yes.
So that's what makes the person different. So that's the one who can fight corruption for you.
According to the
definition of what we call corruption.
Yes.
But that activities that is still coming from that person, no matter how nice they look, they are coming from the corrupt mind. So it's still corrupt.
Yes.
That you are seeing there is a corrupt person. So the person is doing this because of the gain that he want to gain.
Yes.
The person is not doing this because he's already free from that bondage of corruption. He's either gain the favor of men,
It's not on
the recognition,
the
which
fame.
is the fame.
Yeah.
There must be something that you gain.
Even if it's just for you to feel good about yourself,
That
it's
is
a
the
gain.
gain.
Why the spirit is saying when you do what you are supposed to do, you should say to yourself, you are unprofitable. But none of us.
You can't do
No
it
man can do
without
that.
him.
Yes.
No man can do
It
that.
is until he now arrives to show you that everything you are doing, you are not doing things for yourself. And until you stop doing things for yourself, you can never be in that part of God.
Yes.
Because this person is working everything for himself. There must be something that the person wants to achieve. You are in control of the money that you have. It's your own. So you carry the bag. And everything that comes in is bear your name. So you are in control.
Yes.
So you are free to do whatever thing you do. It's still under the corruption.
Yes. So,
I don't know whether you understand the point.
Yes.
It's under the corruption. But that comes from the mindset of man. No matter how fantastic they look,
yes.
they are all corrupt. So let's read 7.
Okay. 7. Then said Jesus, let her alone. Against the day of my burying has she kept this. For the poor always ye have with you, but me ye have not always.
You know, I don't want to go into the depth side of this thing. I'm only bringing this part to show us that no matter what somebody has in mind, what we call a good mindset is still functioning under that spirit of man.
Good
Because no
indeed.
matter how you carry out the activities that you think that you are favoring people outside, because you are not corrupt, you don't have him.
please let me also bring something to our knowledge based on this thing we read. The ointments that were to sold, you understand? That Christ now said in verse 7 that let her alone. She's doing this for against my burying. Had he kept this? But already the ointment was already poured on him. So what kind of burial to see that what is written here, no man has idea about it.
That is why I said that it is what's supposed to bring a man down. Because whatever thing you are doing for yourself, you are in control of yourself. You are not dead yet. So the deadness of a man that's supposed to bring him back to the state of that Christ or that person of God or that son of God supposed to be dying off the will of man. So no matter how you function with those things that you have, and you are, going around, sharing it, living a life that shows that you are not corrupt, you are still corrupt. All you need is the death that need to bring you the path of life. And that death can only come when we access the person of God. That's why I said, you always have the poor with you, because there are people that you see as less privileged. So you go around helping them. But the path that will now bring my presence into you, you don't have it. So every man is corrupt, irrespective of what the person is doing that look nice in the eyes of the people.
It's a sign of the sin.
So all we need is just to find out where is the presence of God.
In our generation.
How can we have the presence of God in our generation? How can we have the voice of God that will change things for us? Because He is the only one who can remove us from the state of what we call corruption. Because no matter how we have different meetings, somewhat meeting, and trying to maybe feel the challenge of what we call insecurity, He can't walk.
Yes.
He can't walk. It's only the one that His voice can calm things for us. Yes. That is all just I want to say. We have a lot to say concerning this, but I think I will say, for me, I will end here first.
So on that, so on that basis, based on how far we have reading this course on corruption, you can come to now realize that, well, let me put it like a form of a question. It's like, can the world be saved? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
And the world can be saved. But can the world be saved by men?
No way.
That's where the answer becomes
No.
no. And I'm asking that because we all as men have come to believe that our help can only come from God. And then again, we find ourselves always looking for help
From men.
from amongst each other. And that is not wrong per se, because it's a subconsciousness that the Spirit imputed in each and every one of us.
Yes.
Because the God who would be that help to us will be amongst us.
Yes.
So he has just subconsciously imputed in us the will or the drive to continuously keep seeking for help from amongst each other, because the help which is of God
still
will
come from-
definitely still come from a person
looking like us.
looking like us,
Yes.
but that person is God.
Yes.
So on that note, I would say let us draw the curtains on today's episode. And if you have any inquiries to make based on what we have just discussed or based on our previous videos, you can send us an email via the addresses on your screen, and we'll be sure to get back to you. And if you wish to join our live sessions, you can indicate that in your mail, and we'll establish a video link via a video streaming platform, be it Zoom, Google Meet, or Skype, and we can have you join us live in our sessions. So on that note, we'll say bye for now till we come your way next time.